Okay, let's dive into Fisetin today. You sent us a whole bunch of research articles about this, and it looks like you're really interested in its potential to fight cancer and even aging.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of excitement surrounding it, and for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's found in a bunch of everyday foods like strawberries, apples, even cucumbers. But some of these studies are suggesting it could be anything but ordinary.
Right, and I think what's really got people's attention is how it seems to target cancer cells.
It's almost like it has like a vendetta against cancer cells or something.
Yeah.
So what exactly is it doing to them?
Well, studies show that it can actually stop those cells from growing.
Yeah.
And even trigger a process called apoptosis.
Which basically like making those cells self-destruct, right?
Yes, that's
Like it has a built-in seek and destroy system.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Now, one of the things that I saw in the articles too was that it could even make chemotherapy more effective.
That's right. Research indicates that Fisetin can actually make cancer cells more sensitive to chemo drugs.
Wow. So it's like giving those chemo drugs an extra punch.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting because Fisetin also seems to hinder the formation of new blood vessels.
And that's crucial because tumors need those blood vessels to grow and spread.
Right.
It's like cutting off their supply line.
Exactly. That process is called angiogenesis. And by interfering with it, Fisetin is basically starving the tumor.
Wow.
And on top of all that, it acts as a powerful antioxidant. It protects your cells from the damage caused by oxidative stress.
So it's kind of like a multi-pronged attack against cancer. And that's pretty amazing for a natural compound. But one of the other things that I noticed in these studies is that there's also some research on Fisetin and brain health.
Absolutely.
It looks like it might be a bit of a brain booster.
Fisetin has shown some really promising results when it comes to improving cognitive function and protecting against age-related decline.
Like there was one study where it actually helped to improve memory in rats that had sepsis-associated encephalopathy,
Yeah.
which is a serious brain complication.
Yeah, that study really highlights its potential in protecting the brain. I mean, this condition can cause serious cognitive impairment. And right now, there aren't any effective treatments for it.
No.
But the results of the study showed that Fisetin was able to significantly improve cognitive function in those rats.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. So how is it doing that? Is it like rewiring their brains or something?
Well, not quite rewiring, but it does seem to activate this process called mitophagy.
Mitophagy.
Yeah, think of it like your cell's spring cleaning process. It gets rid of all the damaged parts, especially in the mitochondria, which are like the powerhouses of your cells. Fisetin seems to boost this process, helping your cells stay healthy and function better.
So it's helping those brain cells get rid of the junk
Right.
and stay in tip-top shape.
Right.
What else is it doing up there?
Another way it seems to be protecting the brain is by reducing neuroinflammation. Inflammation in the brain is linked to a lot of cognitive issues, and Fisetin appears to be able to dampen that inflammatory response.
Wow. So we've got a natural compound that can fight cancer cells, protect the brain, potentially slow down aging. How does it do it all? Is this like a magic bullet or something?
Probably not magic, but it is pretty amazing. Fisetin interacts with this complex network of signals in your body. It's essentially telling your cells to do things that promote health and fight disease.
So it's basically like communicating with your body at a cellular level.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. But I have to ask, if it's interacting with so many different systems, are there any concerns about potential side effects or any unintended consequences?
That's a great question, and it's something that researchers are definitely looking into.
Yeah.
But before we get into the potential downsides, let's maybe dig a little deeper into the research on its effects on cancer, and then we'll circle back to those other points later.
Okay, so what kind of cancers has it shown promise against? Because from what I've read in these studies, it looks like it's a pretty diverse range.
It seems to have potential against a whole bunch of different types of cancer. We're talking breast cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, even leukemia.
Wow, so it's not just limited to like one or two types.
No.
It sounds like it has a pretty broad reach.
It does, and what's even more fascinating is that it seems to work differently depending on the type of cancer.
Oh.
For instance, in breast cancer, Fisetin has been shown to block certain signals that tell the cancer cells to grow and divide.
Oh, so it's like cutting off their communication lines,
Right.
preventing them from multiplying.
Exactly.
But what about in other cancers?
Yeah.
Does it work differently there?
It can. In pancreatic cancer, for example, research suggests that Fisetin triggers a process called autophagy.
Autophagy.
Yeah, remember how we talked about that being like the cell's spring cleaning?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it seems to push that cleaning process into overdrive. in pancreatic cancer cells, ultimately leading to their destruction.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Fisetin's a real multitasker when it comes to fighting cancer.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a bit and talk more about those potential cognitive benefits. You mentioned a study where Fisetin improved memory in rats.
Right.
That's super intriguing to me, especially since you mentioned it might even be helpful for a serious condition like sepsis-associated encephalopathy.
Absolutely. That particular study really highlights Fisetin's potential in protecting the brain. This condition can cause really serious cognitive impairment, and right now, there aren't any effective treatments for it.
Right.
But the results of this study showed that Fisetin was able to significantly improve cognitive function in those rats.
Wow, that's a pretty remarkable finding. So do researchers have any idea how Fisetin is achieving this?
Well, they believe it's likely due to Fisetin's ability to activate mitophagy, that cellular cleaning process we talked about, and also its ability to reduce neuroinflammation.
Okay, so by keeping those brain cells clean and reducing inflammation, Fisetin is essentially creating a more favorable environment for those brain cells to function properly.
Exactly.
This all sounds incredibly promising. But you know, there's a lot of buzz these days about senolytics and their potential to fight aging. Does Fisetin fall into that category?
It very well might. There's growing evidence to suggest that Fisetin could be a senolytic.
And senolytics are?
Basically, senolytics are compounds that can target and eliminate senescent cells.
Senescent cells.
Yeah, think of them as zombie cells. They're cells that should die off, but instead they linger around causing trouble by releasing harmful substances that contribute to aging and age-related diseases.
Oh, so like cellular squatters that refuse to leave and just make a mess of things.
Exactly. And these senescent cells are thought to play a role in a whole range of conditions: cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, even arthritis.
Okay, so getting rid of these zombie cells seems like a good idea if we want to stay healthy as we age. But how does Fisetin fit into all of this?
Well, several studies have shown that Fisetin can selectively eliminate these senescent cells, both in cell cultures and animal models.
Oh, wow. So it's like Fisetin's the zombie hunter,
Yeah.
clearing out those troublesome cells. It's pretty amazing to think that we might have a natural compound that can actually target these age-promoting cells. But I have to ask, is there any research in humans to support this? Because I know a lot of early research is done in cells or animals.
That's a great question, and it brings up an important point. While the research in cells and animals is very encouraging, we still need more research, particularly in humans, to confirm these findings and to figure out optimal dosages and long-term effects.
Okay, so we need to be cautiously optimistic. But it's definitely something to be excited about. Now, I remember you mentioned earlier that one of the challenges with Fisetin is its bioavailability.
Right.
Can you remind us what that means and why it's important?
Of course. Bioavailability basically refers to how well your body can absorb and use a particular compound. And with Fisetin, it turns out that our bodies aren't very efficient at absorbing it.
Oh, so even if we're eating foods rich in Fisetin or taking supplements, we might not be getting the full benefit.
That's the concern.
Okay.
But the good news is that researchers are exploring ways to improve Fisetin's bioavailability. And one of the most promising approaches is using nanotechnology.
Okay, I've heard a lot about nanotechnology lately. How does it work in this context?
Essentially, scientists are encapsulating Fisetin in nanoparticles. You can think of them as tiny protective bubbles that shield Fisetin from degradation and help deliver it more efficiently to where it needs to go in the body.
So it's like giving Fisetin a special delivery service
Exactly.
to ensure it reaches its destination.
And there are different types of nanoparticles being explored, each with its own advantages and disadvantages. But that's not the only strategy being investigated. Researchers are also looking at modifying the structure of Fisetin itself.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
Essentially, they're making small tweaks to the Fisetin molecule to enhance its ability to dissolve in water and to pass through cell membranes.
So it's like giving Fisetin a little makeover
Exactly.
to make it more readily available to the body.
Precisely. And some of these modifications have shown quite promising results in improving its absorption. Now, you might be wondering if there are any simpler ways to enhance Fisetin absorption, and there might be.
I was just thinking that. Are there things we can do through diet, for example?
There's some evidence that taking Fisetin with a meal that contains fats might help improve absorption.
So adding some avocado or olive oil to that strawberry smoothie could make a difference.
It's possible the fats might help to solubilize Fisetin and make it easier for the body to take it up.
Okay.
But it's important to note that this is still an area of active research, and more studies are needed to confirm these findings.
It's fascinating to see how much research is being done on this compound, But while we're talking about what can enhance its effects, I think it's also important to discuss any potential risks or side effects. There are always two sides to every coin, right?
Absolutely, and that's a crucial point to bring up.
So is it something we should be cautious about?
Overall, Fisetin is generally considered safe, especially when you're getting it through food.
Oh.
However, like with any compound, there's always the potential for side effects, particularly at high doses, or if you're taking it for a long time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what kind of side effects should people be aware of?
Well, some people have reported some gastrointestinal issues, like nausea, diarrhea, and upset stomach.
Okay.
And there have also been reports of headaches and dizziness in some cases.
Anything more serious?
There have been a few reports of potential interactions with certain medications, like blood thinners. So it's really important to talk to your doctor before taking Fisetin supplements, especially if you're on any other medications.
It's a good reminder. It's always better to be safe than sorry and get professional guidance when it comes to our health. You know, earlier we were talking about how Fisetin interacts with so many different pathways in the body. And I was wondering if that could potentially lead to any unintended consequences. I mean, it sounds like it's doing a lot of good, but could there be a downside to all that activity?
That's a really insightful point, and it's something that researchers are definitely considering. When a compound like Fisetin is influencing so many different processes, it's important to think about the bigger picture and the potential for both positive and negative effects.
So it's like a domino effect. Tweaking one pathway could have ripple effects throughout the body.
Exactly. It's all about balance. While Fisetin's ability to modulate those pathways is what makes it so promising, it also means we need to proceed with caution and do thorough research to fully understand its impact.
So for example, even though we were talking about how exciting those senolytic effects are, there could be some downsides to eliminating those senescent cells too aggressively.
That's a consideration that scientists are looking into. Some researchers have raised concerns about potential unintended consequences. If we get rid of those senescent cells too quickly or in the wrong tissues, it's still an evolving area of research.
It definitely sounds like there's a lot more to learn about Fisetin.
Yeah.
What are some of the key areas that scientists are focusing on right now? What's next for Fisetin research?
Well, optimizing bioavailability is a major focus. As we discussed, that's a big hurdle that needs to be overcome. If we want Fisetin to reach its full therapeutic potential, scientists are looking at nanotechnology, structural modifications, even combination therapies, as ways to enhance its absorption and delivery.
It seems like there are a lot of exciting possibilities there. What about clinical trials? Are there any studies in humans that are looking at Fisetin's effects?
There are actually several clinical trials in progress, focusing on a variety of conditions, from cancer and Alzheimer's disease to even COVID-19. These trials are crucial for determining whether Fisetin is safe and effective in humans, and for figuring out the best doses and ways to use it.
It sounds like the future of Fisetin research is very bright. Any final thoughts for our listener as they continue exploring this remarkable compound?
I'd say stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged with the latest research. Fisetin is a fascinating compound with immense potential, but it's important to approach it with a balanced perspective, considering both the potential benefits and risks. And as always, talk to your healthcare provider before making any decisions about supplementation.
That's such great advice. Fisetin is definitely a topic worth keeping an eye on. Thank you so much for joining us today and for breaking down all of this complex science in a way that's easy to understand.
It was my pleasure. Always happy to delve into the fascinating world of science and explore the potential of natural compounds to improve our health and well-being.
And to you, our listener, thanks for diving deep with us into the world of Fisetin. We hope you learned something new and feel empowered to continue your own journey of discovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming.